It's a really good idea for everybody to become familiar with the various water shutoff valves in their house so that when you have a water emergency and water is spraying all over the floor, you're going to be able to find them rapidly, get them turned off, and save yourself a lot of headache. So we're going to go through a home, find those various valves, and familiarize you with them. So if your leak is coming from either a toilet or a sink, there's going to be an easily accessible valve that you can use to turn off the water right there. In this instance, this toilet has a knob. If you turn that, water is no longer going to be leaking. Another style is a push-pull valve that you pull, and that turns off the water as well. This particular home has an identical style valve here at the sink. Turn that and the water has been turned off. Now this type of a valve is only going to be effective if the leak is beyond the valve. If the leak is prior to the valve, then you have to go find another place to turn off the supply. So most homes also have a primary water shutoff where the main supply line comes into the home and before it branches out to the rest of your plumbing, goes through this valve. Now it's either going to be inside of a closet or maybe just outside of the home. It's good to locate this in advance before you ever need it. Now this type of a valve usually does take a few turns before it gets all the way closed. But once you get this closed, as long as the leak is beyond this point in your plumbing, it should take care of it. So if you're unable to shut off the water anywhere inside for any reason, your last resort is to find the main source of water coming into the house. Now if you're on a city water line, you're going to find that there's going to somewhere be a water meter like this here. It's typically going to be on the street side of your property. But if you're having trouble finding it, if there's a lot of overgrowth along the curb, what you can look for is come out to the street side of the curb and they'll stamp a W, which is going to be where the water line enters your property from the city's supply line. Now, to turn off the water to your house, metal lid lifts off the top. This can either be concrete, as it is in this case, or it can be a plastic lid. And if you take a look down inside of here, you'll see the meter and the shutoff valve. So once you've opened the top of the case up, if you take a look down at the top of the meter, there's a triangular flow indicator here at the top. When that's spinning, water is flowing through the meter right then. Now, in order to turn this off, there's a valve right here. When the arrow is pointing towards your house, that means that it's open and water is able to pass through. Now, when a professional wants to turn it off, they've got a big fancy wrench to do it with. You're not likely to have one of these. What you probably do have, though, is a pair of pliers or channel locks, a wrench, something like that. And if you give this a spin, take a look at the flow indicator. It's stopped moving. That means that water is no longer able to flow to your property, and it's not flowing right now. So anywhere that water is leaking on the home side of the meter, it stopped leaking at that point. Now you can get someone over to find out what's going on with that leak and get it fixed.